Big tech has a serious issue, and we as the people are powerless to stop it. It seems that every day that big tech businesses and the billionaires that run these companies are one step closer to invading our lives with some sort of new invention. From constant browser tracking to unimportant personal details, where did this invasion of privacy begin, and why are they doing it? Well, let's take a look and start from the beginning. Rewind from 2025 and let's step into the world of the 1970s America. Arriving in the 70s, we are seeing history unveil itself right in front of our eyes. We see events like the great presidential Watergate scandal with Richard Nixon take place. We saw the end of the Vietnam War and the invention of the Paris Peace Accords. And we see the oil crisis taking place. Not only this, but within popular culture, we begin to see the popularity of disco rising during this time. And also, we see the rise of some of the most iconic movies like Jaws, Rocky, Grease, Saturday Night Fever, and Star Wars being released. This era in American history brought forth so many iconic cultural moments for the US. But this whole time, while the 1970s was shaping the future, there was another group of people silently making a name for themselves while the world had no clue what was about to hit them. One of these groups that was making a name for itself in the 70s was a little company called Microsoft. This company was made up of two friends, Bill Gates and Paul Allen. They had humble beginnings and worked out of a little garage in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where they created one of their first products, the basic interpreter for the Altair 8800 microcomputer. Little did they know at the time, but Gates and Allen would be transforming the future of our world and changing history as we know it. During this time, we would see another little company making a name for itself. Who is this little company, you may ask? Well, this other company was Apple. Apple was founded by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in Los Altos, California, and just like Windows, Apple found itself working out of garage when it first began. Apple found success building its Apple I computer, which actually used the basic interpreter that Windows had invented. This invention transformed the way current-day computers work. Everyday people could now connect computers to a cheaper video source like a composite video monitor, versus an expensive terminal like the Teletype Model 33. The Apple I kicked off a major revolution known as the personal computer. The personal computer revolution now began, but with every new user online, a new opportunity was emerging, one that would change how we're seen, tracked, and ultimately sold to. Fast forward now from the 70s and we arrive to the 1990s, and the revolution of the personal computer has caused a booming effect of tech companies popping up everywhere. We see companies like Intel, Cisco, IBM, Oracle, AOL, Adobe, Compaq, they're all gaining widespread popularity in America and worldwide. Not only did we see these companies gaining popularity, but we saw the founding of major tech companies like Yahoo, Amazon, and Google during this time period as well. And with all these companies gaining popularity, they also began raking in the money with all the new technology advancements that were being introduced into the world. Alongside these technological advancements, in 1994, Lou Mantelli introduced the development of the cookie. No, not that cookie, this cookie. Now, the original intent of the cookie wasn't meant to be harmful. It was meant to solve a problem that Mantelli was facing at the time. This problem, you ask? It was meant to assist in maintaining a user's session data, which essentially means this. If you were browsing the internet and came across an e-commerce store, it would help store information about your current shopping cart status and would allow you to exit the site and return with everything returning to its original state, which you had upon leaving the site. The cookie was meant to enhance your user experience so that you could pick up where you last left off on a website. But as we all know, we humans often take something created for good and twist it and warp it to fulfill our selfish needs. As the internet boomed in the 90s, companies realized that the real gold wasn't in computers or software, it was in the people using them. The cookie ended up evolving into something much more sinister. The development of tracking cookies, also known as third-party cookies. These tracking cookies allowed advertisers to track users across multiple websites, and they could curate a custom profile about you that contained all your browsing history. And exactly what was the point of creating custom profiles about web users, you may ask? Well, the purpose was that so online advertisers could target web users with the exact product placements they needed in order to make a sale. And the biggest offender? DoubleClick. DoubleClick was an American advertising technology company that focused on banner ads. Its dark technology, standing for dynamic advertising, reporting, and targeting, it allowed them to increase purchase efficiency on websites in order to minimize the amount of inventory that was left over. But just having ads on a website wasn't enough. To truly monetize, they needed a way to know exactly who they were reaching, and that's where things got serious. So what was the answer to increasing their business sales? Buying one of the largest marketing database companies on the market, Abacus Direct, for a $1 billion stock swap. This buyout caused panic. Abacus Direct had a database filled with people's full names, addresses, and phone numbers. And it wasn't a small amount of data either. They had 5-year buying profiles on 88 million American households. This would allow a digital advertising company to target consumers and web users with laser-focused ads to get them to buy more products through the internet. The plan is to connect surfers with their profiles in Abacus's offline database so that DoubleClick can serve up an exquisitely tailored ad in real time. Eventually, DoubleClick would be met with all sorts of class action lawsuits pertaining to invasions of privacy. The FTC, also known as the Federal Trade Commission, ended up investigating this matter. The investigation ended in an inconclusive finding stating that DoubleClick did not break any privacy issues. The only thing required for them was to explain their privacy policy in an easy to understand way. And while the government shrugged and said nothing was technically broken, the stage was set. This small move would ripple forward into the digital world we navigate today, shaping how companies track, target, and monetize our attention. And you may ask, why should we care about DoubleClick? They don't even exist today. Well, this is where you're wrong, and where the rabbit hole goes even deeper. Fast forward from the 90s into the mid-2000s, Google has made a name for itself and is now a top player in the tech world and is looking to expand its power. With the expansion of the internet, it became a breeding ground for more online advertising, and it brought in lots of money. The most logical move for Google? To buy out DoubleClick for $3.1 billion cash in order to capitalize on this gold rush of online advertising. DoubleClick was now on the receiving end of this deal, but it came with the same legal concerns as before. The same question was raised: was the acquisition going to cause privacy concerns? And people were right to question this. Google had made a name for itself as a searching browser, and even companies like Microsoft were concerned that this acquisition would lead Google to have a monopoly on the online advertising industry. Microsoft and other groups urged the FTC to investigate the effects of Google having access to DoubleClick's data on consumers. And just like before, the FTC concluded its review, and they found nothing wrong with the merger. Although, one person part of the FTC had a dissenting statement on this matter, Pamela Jones Harbor. She stated that, "I dissent because I make alternate predictions about where this market is heading and the transformative role the combined Google DoubleClick will play if the proposed acquisition is consummated. If the commission closes its investigation at the time without imposing any conditions on the merger, neither the competition nor the privacy interest of consumers will have been adequately addressed." And that was only the beginning. From the rise of tracking cookies to targeted advertising, the data trail would soon become a digital fingerprint, a map of our lives that companies could study, predict, and monetize. Now fast forward to today, from 2007, we see that data tracking of users has been out of control. Data tracking has gone past the idea of tracking age, names, sex, ethnicity, and addresses. They are now tracking lifestyle and consumption preferences, language, voice recordings, facial recognition, location, political leanings, music, film taste, income, credit status, employment status, home ownership status, marital status, and probably things we would be baffled to find out about ourselves. With all this information at their fingertips, companies can now engineer a world that feels personalized. But this world is not designed to serve you. It's designed to keep you engaged and sucked in as long as possible. Every click, every pause, every scroll is monitored. Every reaction, every interaction feeds into a system designed to predict what will keep you hooked. The more data they collect, the better they get at placing highly precise advertisements, turning your attention into profit. The more data they collect, the more they can curate what you see, shaping your experience so that it maximizes engagement, purchases, and retention. This isn't just about selling products, it's about shaping behavior, influencing what we click, what we consume, what we care about. The more they know, the more they can predict, influence, and guide us discreetly and constantly. But the question is, why do they continue to track more and more data? Well, the easy answer to this is that it makes them a majority of their money. Tech companies are no longer just tech companies. They are advertising empires on top of their existing infrastructure. For example, looking at Google once again, Google makes a majority of their money from their online advertising. They generated around $183 billion, and where did 80% of that money come from? That's right, their Google Ads department. Of this $183 billion, they made $147 billion off ads alone in 2020. And this number has taken a huge leap. Looking at the returns over the last few years, we can see Google's profits from ads jumped a ton during the COVID lockdowns. Even at the end of 2024, Google made $264 million off of ads alone. And honestly, they show no signs of slowing down. And Google, they're not alone in this trend. Really, any social media site will gain much of its profit from collecting data about you. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, Snapchat, and X, they all do this. Data on users is the new oil, and they will do anything they can in order to keep us coming to these sites in order to siphon as much resources that they can. What started as enhancing user experience has quietly transformed into a machine designed to capture attention, monetize behavior, and shape our desires. Maybe the answer isn't to abandon technology, but to reclaim our control over it, to see the system for what it is and choose differently. Our attention is power, and once we remember that, they can't own us anymore.